So I'm going to go through every single talent tier, one by one, and talk about the PvP applications first and then the PvE ones afterwards. So the level 15 tier doesn't really have that much of an impact on your overall performance, so you can honestly just run whatever you're comfortable with. Generally speaking, Chi Wave does the most single target, but that's assuming that you keep it on cooldown. It's also a little bit unreliable because it can jump to different targets, and then if you get out of range of that target that it jumps to, it won't jump anymore and the damage stops completely. So for that reason, I don't really take it that much. Chi Burst is your other option. This is the best option for AoE and Burst because you can combine it with other abilities like this. So you can use it before a Sun Kick or before a Strike of the Windlord for extra upfront damage. However, if you're forgetting to use either Chi Wave or Chi Burst, like you just take it and you don't use it, take either tiger. I did some testing on it today and it actually competes with Chi Wave and Chi Burst and on most occasions does more damage than them. The reason for that is it's always up. As long as you're hitting your target, you're always going to have either target doing damage. So you don't have to worry about using another ability completely. Like I said, just run whatever you feel comfortable with, but either tiger is a decent option and you don't have to worry about it at all. In PvE though, Chi Wave is the best option for single target straight out. Chi Burst is the best for AoE, so Mythic Dungeons and stuff like that. And Eye of the Tiger, it's the same concept. If you're getting to use them, then you can run Eye of the Tiger. But in PvE, Chi Wave and Chi Burst significantly outdo Eye of the Tiger in their respective categories. For the level 30 tier, Tiger's Last is basically what you have to take for PvP, mainly because it breaks you out of roots, snares, you can use it on friendly targets as well. So it's just got a lot of utility built into it that you can't really consider trading it off for Celerity or Chi Torpedo. In PvE though, you can basically run whatever you're comfortable with. I just like Tiger's Lust just because it's my own personal preference, but whatever you like to run, you can run it. For the level 45 tier, Energizing Elixir is your best option. If you compare it to Power Strikes, this gives 1 Chi every 15 seconds, which is 4 Chi in a minute, as opposed to Energizing Elixir, which can give you your full Chi, which is 5, plus a full bar of energy every minute, so it's already better than Power Strikes. Ascension isn't that good in PvP because even though it does bring your max Chi up to 6, there's no reason you should ever be sitting at 6 Chi. And the energy regen doesn't really amount to anything because there's points where you have downtime where you're chasing people or you're in CC, and that's giving you time to get your energy back, something that doesn't happen in PvE. It just doesn't have the throughput and the on-demand awesomeness that Energizing Elixir does, so get used to using that. For PvE, Energizing Elixir is still the best option. Like I said, it's better than Power Strikes, gives you more Chi every minute. Ascension, the max Chi doesn't really matter, and even though it does give you extra energy regen, this fills up your energy anyway. For the level 60 tier, Leg Sweep is your go-to for PvP. It's a 5-second stun, it's just what you use to set up kills in CC. Only time you wouldn't run Leg Sweep is if you're running with someone else who also has an AoE stun, like a Demon Hunter or another Monk. For example, I play a lot of double Windwalker, and there are times where I'll run Leg Sweep and then the other Monk will run Ring of Peace. And Ring of Peace is actually decent, but it's got a lot of niche applications. Situations where it's really good, but they don't happen often. For example, if you're coming across a Discipline Priest as double Windwalker, one of you can run Ring of Peace and toss the Ring of Peace inside a powered barrier, and then the priest can't walk back into it, or anyone else that's trying to get into it. So that counters it. You can do the same thing with Earth and Shield Totem. You can knock people off the bridge in Blade's Edge. If you're running alone, and you have to choose between Leg Sweep and Ring of Peace, Leg Sweep is just the better option, for the most part. Ring of Peace is also really fun to use in World PvP, so I recommend giving that a shot. Black Ox Statue, as far as I know, doesn't have any applications in PvP. For PvE, it's basically still the same. Leg Sweep is really good for just stunning trash so they don't do damage to the tank. Ring of Peace, I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be better than Leg Sweep because the mobs can still do stuff. And Black Ox Statue, I don't think it outdoes Leg Sweep, but it is good for AoE farming. If you're going into old dungeons or you're just trying to AoE farm for skinning or whatever, you can take Black Ox Statue and plant it somewhere and it will taunt all the mobs within 30 yards and then you can quickly AoE them down. So for that, it's quite good. Otherwise, Leg Sweep is basically your best bet. For the level 75 tier, Healing Elixirs is basically what you're going to be running for the most part. You can't ever really go wrong with it. It's a 15% heal every 30 seconds with 2 charges. It's pretty good. The Fuse Magic does have an application against Affliction Warlocks. You can Karma when they've put Unstable Afflictions on you, and then use the Fuse Magic. The Unstable Afflictions will then reverse back to the Warlock. The Dispel damage will eat your Karma, and then the full Karma dot will go into them as well. Plus your damage on top, so it basically becomes unhealable. But in your downtime, you don't have Healing Elixirs keeping you alive, so it's a trade-off. Dampen Harm, I haven't really tried it. It has a really long cooldown, and I just feel like Healing Elixirs is the better option. For PvE, it's basically the same thing, just take Healing Elixirs. It's good to pop 2 Healing Elixirs off when you're starting to take damage, so your healer doesn't have to worry about you. So Healing Elixirs is definitely your best bet. So for the level 90 tier, you're either going to be choosing between Hit Combo or Zuen. Now, both Hit Combo and Zuen got nerfed by quite a bit. Hit Combo is only an 8% damage increase in PvP at max stacks, and Zuen got nerfed by 40%. Because Hit Combo is only an 8% increase, I feel like that isn't really enough to warrant taking it over Zuen. If it was still 16, I'd say Hit Combo was probably better, but the 8% isn't really that much. And Zuen getting nerfed by 40% makes it so it doesn't really do a hell of a lot of damage anymore, but it is noticeable. I've tried Rushing Jade Wind, and honestly it didn't outdamage Zuen even after the nerfs, so it's probably not that good of an idea to run it. So it's either Zuen for damage or Hit Combo if you can't stand Zuen breaking CC. In PvE though, Hit Combo is your best bet for pretty much any situation. There are times when the other two shine, but you can always run Hit Combo and be doing well with it, because you can't go wrong with the 16% damage increase. And in PvE, because you're always trying to do maximum damage, and you always have uptime on the boss, you're able to get the most benefit out of it. Zuen is really good on short burst fights like dungeon bosses where they're not going to be alive for past the 45-second mark, where Zuen is alive. Rushing Jade Wind is good in a situation where there's adds that have relatively low health pools, so you can tag them quickly with Mark of the Crane, and then Crane Kick can do heaps of AoE damage. But if the mobs are going to be alive for quite a while, there's no reason why you can't just manually target them with tab targeting and get your Mark of the Crane stacks through your normal abilities, or through Stormwrath and Fire, if you're running it. But if there's a lot of trash and they're going to be dying quickly, then Rushing Jade Wind is pretty good. But even then, Hit Combo 16% damage increase, or Zuen's burst AoE potential, just heavily outdo it. So you can always run Hit Combo. Zuen is good in dungeons, I'd say, but Rushing Jade Wind sort of falls short, in my opinion. Serenity is still an okay option. It's better for burst, but the problem with it is that it doesn't last as long or have as many charges as Stormwrath and Fire does. I just prefer to use Serenity because it's more reliable, it's easier to use, it just works, whereas Stormwrath and Fire is a little bit clunky. Generally speaking though, Stormwrath and Fire will do more damage, and that's where you either run Whirling Dragon Punch or Chi Orbit. Whirling Dragon Punch is better than Chi Orbit if you are constantly using it. If you are able to keep this on cooldown or close to on cooldown, then Whirling Dragon Punch will do more damage, and it's also the better burst option. Overall damage though, if you're not keeping this on cooldown, Chi Orbit will outdo it quite a bit, because Chi Orbit is always happening. Even though the tooltip says it does quite a bit less than Whirling Dragon Punch, it will rack up damage quite often, and if you run it for an arena and compare it to Whirling Dragon Punch, you'll see how much more damage it will do. That's assuming that you're not keeping Whirling Dragon Punch on cooldown though. In PvE, Serenity and Whirling Dragon Punch are pretty equal, so you can run whichever one you're more comfortable with. But if you have the legendary braces, then Stormwrath and Fire heavily outdoes Serenity, sadly. In which case you would have to run Whirling Dragon Punch. Chi Orbit isn't strong in PvE, because in PvE you have the chance to min-max your Whirling Dragon Punch. Because you're keeping Fist of Fury and your Sun Kick on cooldown, Whirling Dragon Punch can also be kept on cooldown, which makes it a hell of a lot better than Chi Orbit. For the Honor talent, Gladiator's Medallion in the first row is generally the best option just because of how reliable it is. It's something that you have complete control over. If you're in danger and you realize it, you can drink it. The problem with adaptation is that if you're fighting something that can abuse it, such as throw you in some form of CC, which instantly gets rid of it and then chuck you in a stun or something, adaptation is pretty dangerous to use. I just take Gladiator's Medallion because it's always up. The trinket only goes off when I say it does. That's why it's the best option generally. Relentless is good for orcs because then stuns only last about half as long on them. So that's really good, but you can never go wrong running Gladiator's Medallion, so take that. For the second tier, Reinforced Armor is really good for monks. That's because more health means that you're getting more heals out of Transcendence and Healing Elixirs, because they're based off your percentage HP and not off attack power. Hardiness really isn't that great because then you're vulnerable under 80% health. Sparring is great against a heavy melee team, because then 20% of their attacks are going to be doing half damage. So sparring against heavy melee teams, Reinforced Armor in every other situation. For the third tier, Yulon's Gift used to be really strong, but that was only when Roll also removed snares. Now that only Flank Serpent Kick removes it, and that's a 25-second cooldown, I don't really think it's worth it. Eminence is what I run all the time. A 5-second cooldown reduction on your Transcendence means that you can get out of sticky situations a lot more often. And I see people running Fast Feet, but the duration of snares being reduced by 20% doesn't really make too much of a difference, I feel, because I tried running it and I was always just permanently slowed anyway. And that 15% movement speed increase, I didn't feel it at all, honestly. For the 4th tier, Fortifying Elixir is your best option. It's a 1.5 minute cooldown that reduces your damage taken and increases your health. You can't really go wrong with it. Control the Mist isn't strong enough to consider taking, because even though it gives you an instant cast of Fuse, a Fuse still heals for next to nothing anyway. And if you're trying to cast instant cast of Fuses during your rotation, you're going to be losing energy, which will slow you down. So Fortifying Elixir is the best. And Zen Moment, even though it reduces your damage taken and it increases your incoming healing, it costs Chi, and if you want to get the full benefit out of it, you have to stop hitting people, because any attack that you use that triggers hit combo or combo strikes will make its effects go down. So Fortifying Elixir is always good. Control the Mists would need to be buffed to consider taking it, and same thing for Zen Moment. For the 5th row, Tiger Style is quite strong because it allows you to turn your Flying Serpent Kick. And there's also a little trick where you can Flying Serpent Kick and then jump at the end of it, and it gets you a little bit of extra distance, actually quite a bit extra distance. Disabling Reach is another good option. Having the 10-yard range on Disable means that you can peel people easier, and you can peel off yourself easier, you can catch people easier, it makes everything easier. I personally just like running Tiger Style because being able to turn and Flying Serpent Kick is great for running away and catching people, and it just makes Flying Serpent Kick really good to use. I don't feel like I need the 10-yard range on Disabling Reach, so that's why I don't take it. I haven't used Ride the Wind yet, but I know that it would actually be good if your healer is getting trained in arena or something. You can Serpent Kick from one pillar to another, let's say, and then he can use the path that you left from your Flying Serpent Kick to be immune to move and impairing effects while he runs from pillar to pillar. If you find that you don't need the Tiger Style turning and you don't need the Disabling Reach, and your healer needs help or your partner needs help, Ride the Wind is actually quite good. For the last tier, Heavy-Handed Strikes is pretty much your only option. Having the extra CC built into your Fist of Fury and the increased range means that you have more kill opportunities, and your Fist of Fury damage will be coming off more reliably. The only time you wouldn't take Fist of Fury stun is if you've got another Windwalker with you who also has the Fist of Fury stun, because then you're DRing everything quite heavily, in which case they can either take Grapple Weapon or Spinning Fire Blossom. Spinning Fire Blossom is pretty cool because the rooting effect on it does not DR with your standard root from Disable or itself. So you can constantly root people for 1.5 seconds without having to worry about DR. And Grapple Weapon is good if you want to counter a melee that's doing too much damage and you just want that extra CC. So to summarize, the Windwalker Monk talents for the main part stay the same, but there is some leeway with a couple of your tiers. Like the level 15 tier, you can run whatever you're comfortable with. For level 90 you can take Zuin a hit combo, for level 100 you can run any of this in PvP. Just because someone says something is the best doesn't mean that it's going to suit you in every case. So play around with different specs, try Chi Burst, try Chi Wave, try anything you want. For other talents, try Eminence if you're not running it, it's really good. Try Tiger Star if you spend so much time running Disabling Reach, it's completely up to you. And I'm pretty sure that covers everything, so if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. If I missed anything, let me know. And next thing we'll cover is probably the Windwalker Monk rotation. I'm going to be doing the Windwalker Monk guides in parts, it's just easier for me to do it that way. Take it easy, have a good one, and I'll catch you guys later.